Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So happy Friday. This week flew by. But today we do finally have a trade deal to announce. The US and China finally, after many weeks going back and forth, we have a deal. So let's talk about it. Also, we also have some inflation numbers to go over and all the other stuff that's in place that's allowing Bitcoin to soar, or getting ready to soar, that is. All right, let's talk about everything. Let's do it, guys. Welcome. The US market is starting out in the green. Let's see here. Dow plus 160, NASDAQ plus 77. Circle doing good once again. Robinhood green. Coinbase taking a breather. MicroStrategy taking a small little breather. Bitcoin roughly where it was yesterday, although you have some standouts like say that's going up today. And that is not accidental. There is some stablecoin news I got to share as well. But the big thing is this. Trump said that a deal was done and China confirms it. Okay, so I think this is going to make markets breathe a little easier. The gist of this is really, first of all, the reciprocal tariffs. U.S. is going to impose that baseline 30% tariff on all imported goods. China is going to impose a 10% tariff of all imported U.S. goods. Okay. So that stays. But the details of this is really around the rare earth materials that China controls. They hold 90 to 95 of the world's rare earth minerals, which they were not, they were not exporting. They were not selling. But now they are. They're going to sell it to the U.S., and U.S. is going to look at a lot of the restrictive measures, whatever that means. Could be with computer chips or AI or whatever. They're going to look at those and cancel a lot of the restrictions made. Okay, so that way, seems both sides got what they wanted. So yeah, so that's the deal. That's the deal. So there's no more back and forth, no more threatening of raising tariffs and all that stuff. So this is something that's been worked on for quite some time. Now, it does sound like there's other things not part of this deal. So I don't know what that means. Okay. It seems like this deal is mostly just setting a baseline of tariffs and getting the rare earth minerals out there. But outside of that, there's probably other stuff that's not part of this deal. But you know what? Last night, I talked about July 9th, right? And that's when all the other tariffs come into play. Right now, we have that 90-day pause. So at least we got a big one going. So this, in my opinion, is the second deal. We had one with UK, and then now it's China. These are big economies, right? But let's see what happens in the next 2 weeks. Are we going to get more big trade deals solidified? Could be good. Could be real good. All right. Now, the second thing on a macro scale is this. The PCE inflation numbers came out. Headline inflation came out expected 2.3%. But core inflation ticked up slightly to 2.7%. So overall, we're still in a 2% range, but there are certain things that are ticking upwards. Okay. And the important thing to remember with this is the government selects a basket of goods to measure inflation with. And sometimes they make changes. I remember last year they removed coffee from the equation. I think that was CPI. I don't know if that's PCE or CPI. Because it was conflicting with the numbers. So you got to remember, even though it sounds like this is low, okay, inflation is only 2% or 2.3%, The reality is it's a lot higher because when you judge inflation on different goods, let's say houses, for example, or Bitcoin, or gold, or anything else other than, I don't know, a bag of peanuts, you'll realize that inflation is a lot higher than 2.7%. The government selects goods that purposely do not move all that much, which is why the inflation number doesn't really correlate with our normal lives, which is why when you go out to eat, it's a lot more expensive. When you hire someone to do something, it's a lot more expensive. It's not just a 2.7% increase. It's more averaged around 7 or 8% per year. That's the true inflation number. But these are just, made to make people think that it's okay. It's not so bad. But that's why we have Bitcoin. That's why we have Bitcoin, because you don't have to trust the government to tell you what the inflation rate is. You don't have to trust the government will do the right thing, because they never do. You just trust the math. You trust the network. So, but anyways, going back to this, does it help Powell? Does it reassure him that inflation is not going upwards? Is he going to cut the Fed fund rate? It doesn't hurt, let's just say. It's not really ticking up all that fast, so it doesn't hurt. It doesn't really improve things either, but doesn't hurt. Doesn't hurt. Now, on to some good news. Here we go. So it looks like this genius bill that just passed the Senate, the administration wants to fast track that. Okay. And there's another bill, Clarity Act, which is not stable coins. It's more for crypto overall. Basically defining what's a security, what's not. If projects that raised money, can they be self-governed or be governed under CFTC? There's different things that relate to crypto, not just stablecoins. Genius Act is all about stablecoins. Clarity Act is about crypto overall and making it just more innovative and less restrictive and giving projects options. Now, both, could be fast-tracked, okay, and approved by July 7th, which is before that deadline I mentioned for the tariffs. And this would be huge, okay? At least that's what the administration wants. Doesn't mean that Congress is going to just pass both with flying colors, or maybe they will. I don't know. Maybe they will. The Genius Bill Act seemed like it passed pretty quickly through the Senate. Is it going to pass through the House that quickly? Don't know. And then also this Clarity Act, which is also, it's actually a much bigger deal than the Genius Act, but people are not talking about it as much. But if both gets fast-tracked by July 7th, that's going to be enormous. Enormous for the market. Okay. Well, then this is the reason why, you got like SEG going up like 14%. You got Circle that's going up again because of this, July 7th. That's another date to watch out for. All right. Now on to some other interesting news. Yesterday, ETF Flow, no surprise, $226 million. And every day we have more and more buying. Even though I know a lot of you guys are always thinking, George, since there's so much buying, how come the price is not going up? I know that's always the answer. The question. It's a complicated question because even though so much is being bought, most of it's OTC, okay? Especially in this kind of volume, when you're trying to buy $200 million of the Bitcoin, you don't go on spot Coinbase to make the purchase. You buy it directly behind the scenes, and it's off the order books. The prices that we see on CMC, on TradingView, these are all basically the order books on the major exchanges. And these order books don't truly reflect what the prices should be, okay? It's just what the retail people are paying. But it doesn't really account for OTC, and the OTC market is hot because we have so much buying. Now, eventually, there's not going to be enough Bitcoin. Eventually, these ETFs and these companies are going to buy OTC, and they're not going to be able to. That's when things get really, really interesting. So day to day, we may not see these huge purchases reflect in the price. But in the long run, of course it does. That's why Bitcoin continues to go upwards, because more and more of the supply is removed, right? So you just have to be patient. You have to realize that it's a long-term game. You're investing long-term, and nothing outperforms Bitcoin when it comes to long-term hodling. Coinbase also, Brian Armstrong said that just like some of the other firms, like Tether, for example, Tether buys a ton of Bitcoin with their profits. Coinbase is going to start doing the same. So that could equate to billions upon billions upon billions of Bitcoin being bought as well. Coinbase is very hot right now. Their stock is hot, and they're going to be making money left and right. So that's awesome. And of course, there are so many others that are loading up on Bitcoin every single week. And these are huge amounts. It's not chump change. Hundreds of millions to billions every single week. So this is all going to tally up. It's going to have effect. So that is why Bitcoin is ready to soar. It's ready to break out to that next level. We're right there. We're right there. We're really close. You got a country like Bhutan, which is super, super, super small. But somehow they started Bitcoin mining, and now their bag is worth $1.3 billion. It's amazing. It's amazing. They have over 12,000 Bitcoin. Again, you could count that as DCA. They invested in mining equipment, and now they have $1.3 billion. And this number will continue to go up as Bitcoin goes higher. Here's another company that's on the Toronto exchange. Bought 292 Bitcoin. Again, you got a lot of companies buying and loading up right now while they can, while things are still affordable, because in the future they won't be. And plus, embracing Bitcoin as a company is super hot right now. Having a Bitcoin treasury definitely reassures investors and gets them to buy. All right, last few things. Where we are in this cycle, well, if you look at where we are, that white line right there says we are here, versus the prior two cycles, you could see that we're not at the top. Okay, if we are following previous cycles, we would eventually reach to that dotted line point, and that should be right around November, December timeframe. Okay, that's if we're following a normal cycle, which we still are right now. We got 6 months, 5 months left, but that doesn't mean, you could see after that point, we go into crypto winter, right? We go to crypto winter for like 2 years. going forward, I have a suspicion that we don't follow that anymore. And we continue to trend higher. So even though we are mimicking previous cycles, I think after that peak, it's going to be different going forward. I just don't see, especially with all this buying, I just mentioned all this institutional buying, companies buying, they're buying billions per week. I just don't see us dropping into crypto winter anymore. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens after this year, going to 2026, whether we just continue forward. We could have consolidation points, we could have corrections, but this whole concept of crypto winter may be over forever. And this is the first cycle we go through that. I guess we'll have to see. We got 5 months left until the end of this year. It'll be really, really interesting. And this is also interesting. Bitcoin following the global M2 money supply. Normally speaking, we're about 3 months out. But you can see how there's major correlations with Bitcoin's price with M2 money supply. And if you're looking at it, the M2 money supply has been going up, in case you're wondering. It has been going up. So in case you're wondering, if we're following that, well, that would place Bitcoin at this next leg, right? This next level that we're waiting for. And it could be anywhere from 130, 150. This one is projecting more like 170. That's coming. That is coming, guys. And this one from this trader is looking at, you know how we broke out of this triangle, this wedge. But overall, if you're plotting the top and the bottom of Bitcoin, you're just looking at this giant channel that we're in. After making this next leg up, we still have room to grow. We have a lot more room to grow. And we could be hitting anywhere from 200, 300 by the end of this year. So quite exciting. Quite exciting. All right. That's pretty much it. Let's see. Governor Gavin Newsom sues Fox News for $787 million. That is not good. All right. U.S. market still pretty green. Although a lot of the crypto stuff turned red today. MicroStrategy still green. Circle turned red. Robinhood, Coinbase turned red. Interesting. Maybe some profit taking there. All right, let's do some Q&A. Happy Friday, all. I'm surprised to see Circle open up in a red today. It started out very green and turned into red. Coinbase taking a breather. Coinbase taking a breather, no surprise. Yesterday it formed a new all-time high. So taking a breather. Hood also formed all-time high, taking a breather. Nothing wrong with those. Today, Say is the standout. And then you got like Solana, that's actually up a couple percentage points. Sui up a couple percentage points. Bitcoin down about $500. Lars, coin already made all-time high yesterday. What are you talking about? Well, the standout today is MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy's up. Steven, thank you. Yeah, I don't need to share pics. You could look up. You could look up what a nice black LC500 convertible looks like. This will be big. If we get both acts fast-tracked by second week of July, massive, massive. Got a good amount of people tuned in today, over 3,000. Do I like English soccer? No, I do not. Will you be with us in the bear market? I'm not so sure. Depends on how good this bull market is. By the way, I haven't received a whole lot of questions. You know, unless you guys really hate it, then I'm going to stop doing it. But I think a lot of people enjoy it. You guys need to submit questions for me here to do my Saturday video, because I think I only received 1 or 2 questions. Make sure you go to the website. A lot of you guys are just like really lazy and you never go to the website. I don't know why, because there's really good stuff here. But one of the things to do is go ask a question and post your link. That way I can answer it more fully and more detailed. And it's free. It's not like I'm asking you guys to submit $500 to do it. So all you had to do is take like 10 seconds to record like a question. But you know, there's also other stuff here that's interesting. So make sure you do that. And plus, a lot of you guys like to chat. Join the Discord. It's a free Discord. A lot of you guys love to show up here and just chat about everything and nothing. So why not join the Discord and have a good old chat for during the entire day. What do you think about defense stocks? The only thing I care about is the Mag 7, and you really at the Mag 7, I don't really care about it, but the Mag 7 has done really well. If you look at stocks in general, nothing outperforms the Mag 7, with the exception of MicroStrategy, and going forward, I think the crypto-related stocks like Circle and Coinbase, Robinhood, I think these will continue to do very well. But if you look at everything else, nothing outperforms the Mag 7. Not nowhere close. Microsoft hit all-time high recently. Nvidia hit all-time high. I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of these stocks are just more interesting than alts these days. They actually have been moving where a lot of the alts just got weaker and weaker and weaker. Yeah, Coinbase is really overbought, taking a breather. I'm probably going to load up more on Coinbase after today. And Circle is still taking a breather from its crazy run. It's Friday. Friday, you got to be chill. Prediction for Soul, end of 2025. I don't know. I used to say over 1,000. It could still be there. But seeing how weak the alts are, I don't know. I mean, it got as high as 260, 270, so it's only like a 4x from there. Can it still happen? Yeah, I'll stick with it. It's like a 7x from here. We just need a little momentum. We need memes to get hot again. Soul, once it gets its ETFs. I'll stick with that. Robin asked, why are alts so weak right now? Because you could just tell from retail people that they just don't have the diamond hands like before. Anytime there's a little weakness, they sell off. And there's a lot more derivative trading now. There's a lot more leverage trading. And I do think a lot of people also get burned out by that because they're only trading alts. They're not trading Bitcoin, and they get liquidated all the time. That's why we see all these massive shakeouts out of nowhere. I think a lot of it's just to clear liquidity. And I think that also plays into it. But it's obvious why Bitcoin is so strong. You got billions being bought per week by the big boys. You don't have billions buying alts right now. Retail is just not doing it. Spencer says, this is my first cycle, and hearing 7x predictions for anything just seems like fantasy. And that's very conservative. If you live through any previous cycles, they're more like 20 to 50x. Altcoin season gets really crazy. But right now, we're not going through one of those times. George used to be bullish on VeChain. I'm not negative towards them. I just don't like the new better system that they're going with. You know, Sonny and team is really trying to go green and promote this better system with a new token and sustainability and cleaning up the earth, which is all noble, but they're not moving towards what everyone else is moving towards, which is, for example, AI or DPIN or anything else, improving liquidity, TVL, gaming, all that stuff. They're not really doing that. Stable coins. There's no USDT or USDC on VeChain. They hardly even have a DEX. They don't have any liquidity providers. So they're just not operating like a normal chain. They support a UFC, which is great. That's always fun to attend, but that's about it. Larry asked about Pepe. It'll come back. It'll come back. I think many retailers were spooked by meme coin rug pulls. Well, I mean, the thing is, earlier this year, back in January, things were really hot, mostly because of meme coins. I mean, Bitcoin did well, but retail was really pulled in by meme coins. Meme coins caused chains to go up, like Solana and others. It was really, really hot. I still think this year, when we get altcoin season, it's going to be led by memes. Memes are going to get hot again. They're going to get huge. Money's going to flow out from them into others. And the chains that support them will get really big and popular again. But yeah, there's something to that. A lot of people do get rugged with memes. There's way too many of them. People are speculating. And now that memes are considered non-securities, it's a free-for-all. Like, SEC is not really tracking memes anymore. When things get really hot, I'll come out with my own meme. And that's going to be the ultimate meme coin. Joe says, how do you justify telling someone you have thousands of dollars invested in a dog coin with unlimited supply and actually no value? It's all speculation. If there's a lot of people that also think the same way, that that's the best way to go, then that's all you need. Anything, if you think about anything that's a collectible, anything that has value, the only reason why it does is because a group of people think that way. Why does art have value? Because there are art collectors. But honestly, is a Picasso worth millions? If you just base it on the canvas and the paint and stuff, of course not. It's because people believe in Picasso. They think he's one of the greatest. And there's a very limited amount of paint out there for sale. That's why it's worth what it's worth. But anyone could go and try to copy it. Anyone could try to make one that looks similar. They're worthless. They're junk. Right? Anything that has value is just because a group of people deems that it has value. That's it. Same thing with cards, sports cards, Pokemon cards. Are they worth the paper they're printed on? Yeah, I mean, No, they're a lot higher normally because, again, people deem it to be worth something. Same thing with memes. They could have no value at all. They're completely worthless because they cost nothing to mint. But if a group of people think they have value, then they're going to have value. That's just how it is. Do I still have my NFTs? Yeah. They're still on OpenSeas. They're still there. But they're all sold out. You could buy a secondhand. There are a lot of people that hold the exclusive one of one I Am George NFTs. Those are going to be worth a lot because when I come out with my meme, those people are going to get airdropped a ton of tokens. So, and even the non one of ones, like the strap on ones, they're going to be worth a lot too. If Bitcoin isn't going to go to zero, it's going to infinity. That's the truth. That's the truth. You know, recently I asked the car dealership where I got my LC500. I asked them to give me a trade-in offer for my Ferrari, and and to my surprise, it's more than what I paid for it. So that's the good thing. I mean, I think I asked last year, and it wasn't. I was gonna lose money if I trade in, but this year things have come up a lot, and with the tariffs, made Ferraris more expensive. So now I could trade it in and actually get a little bit more than what I paid. So that's the good thing about high-end cars is they don't lose a lot of value unless you're driving a crazy amount of miles on them. But unlike normal cars or luxury cars, they'll lose 30% almost instantly. But if you buy a high-end car, they hold their value really well. And you can end up making money. I made money on my last Ferrari, and I'll probably end up making money on this one too. I just don't know if I want to trade it in. Like, there's really nothing, very few cars I would want. Yeah, luxury watch market is in a trash can right now because people were like going crazy over Rolex watches, and now they were extremely overpaying them. Now things are coming back to normal, but still not that normal. I mean, a lot of the coveted Rolexes are still being sold 2, 3x the normal price. However, if you have a really, really high end watch, I don't know, like a Richard Mille or something, or a Jacobs, whatever those high end ones that are like two, $300,000 per watch, I bet they haven't dropped in price. Most Rolexes are like they're like a luxury car. They're expensive, but they're still like affordable. So that's why they can, lose value. trade a Ferrari in for ZR1X. I would do that. I would think I would even think about trading for a ZR1 and get like half of it back, because you know the price is like double of a ZR1. So if there was a ZR1 at this dealership, I'd probably trade it and get some money back and use that money to go buy some Bitcoin. MicroStrategy doing well. Will there be a pump this weekend? You know what? Today is also the last Friday of the month. So options and futures expiration is today. That could be the reason why we also have a little volatility today. Usually options day or expirations day does bring volatility. Do I get business opportunities when I drive around? No, I'm not driving around for business. I do want to get a warehouse. It's been something on my mind for a while. I do want to get like a mid-sized warehouse where you can drive cars in, so I can do some more things in that warehouse, do more recording. So yeah, I think that I want to do that. And I do have another car channel that I don't really do car reviews anymore. But it'll be nice to do some other kind of things. And I also would love to get a piece of land where you could just like drive around on it. Do you think, Renee asked, do you think Shiba will pump? Shiba will. I don't really hear a lot of people ask about Shiba anymore, but it was the darling of the last cycle. It's still hanging in there, 6.6 billion. That's not chump change. They're still a huge big cap. I think they will, you know, when we get altcoin season, they'll come back and they'll be fine. But obviously they're far off from their previous high. I do think Pepe is like the Shiba or Doge of this cycle. I think Pepe is going to do very well. It's funny too because Pepe went through a big shenanigan. They had a internal hack, and people like totally forgot about that. It's surprising how well Pepe recovered, or just like the people just have short attention spans. Yeah, Pepe is not far off. Robert, having double islands in a kitchen is great. It's really great. So if she wants it, then you should let her have it, because we use the two islands all the time. I would just say this, on the second island, we only have one side for seating. Make it so that both sides have seating. So that way, like if guest comes over and you guys are sitting on one side of the island, right now we would have to stand on the other side of the island, which kind of sucks. So if you get a double island, make sure that you could sit on both sides of the island. That's my tip to you. All right, guys, that's it for today. We got a PCE reading. We got a trade deal done. These are all good things. good things. Let's see what happens for the rest of today after the options expirations. And we'll go from there. All right, guys. Make sure you submit your questions on CryptosRUs.com and check out everything else there. And smash up that like. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. And stay tuned for my videos this weekend. And I'll see you guys on Monday. All right. Have a good one.